Dustin covered his mouth with a sheepish expression, noticing that Naltor had returned to an alert posture. I apologize. My species has the odd habit of curving our lips upward when we're amused or happy. It's a sign of submissiveness and goodwill, believe it or not. It's instinctual, so despite how other species admonish us, it's difficult to control. I can put the helmet back on if it makes you uncomfortable, the xenobiologist said. I raised a flipper to reassure him. Nonsense. You're an alien, of course. You evolved with different expressions than us. Now that we know what it means, I'm sure Naltor won't take it as a challenge. The general scoffed. I was not going to contest the alien's strength, even if he was provoking me. I just wasn't going to let myself seem intimidated. Why don't we bring these aliens onto a transport, make an announcement to the public, and set up a feast replete with the finest delicacies? A feast? Haliska whispered, with a tone that seemed fearful. We should stay that offer. We don't know the aliens' customs around mealtime or whether they'd be able to eat our food. It is a bit presumptive, Naltor, I said hastily, wanting to cover whatever faux pas we'd committed against the Thafki. Perhaps they don't like excess or wasting food, or they're private. Maybe they only share food with close friends, or maybe they don't eat at all. Dustin shot the bluish-gray alien a smoldering glare. We know how central fishing is to Bissam culture, and how hospitable it is for them to extend an invitation to a feast. Yes, of course we do, Haliska whimpered. It's no different from the humans, Nulia assured the Thafki quietly. We accept this now ever since the deconversions. You know that I'm uncured. Uncured? Deconversions? What the fuck are they talking about? I feel like there's something I should know about here. General Naltor eyed the visitors with concern, thinking the same thing by my assessment. I didn't mean to cause any offense. I was trying to celebrate your arrival. The human bobbed his head from side to side. No, you didn't cause us any offense. Your invitation was quite kind, and we'll accept it if you're still willing to extend it. There's some complicated matters that we'll explain to you in due time, but I'd prefer not to get into our full baggage today. What I will say is that none of our allied species subsist solely on meat, so I must ask if it's possible for you to accommodate us with some vegetable fare. I know your bodies aren't adapted for eating it, but, of course, we should have asked about that. It's hard to think of food as not fish, I responded. There's something much deeper going on here, but I haven't figured out what. We have some sea plants and a small selection of land vegetables for our fish farms. That's what we'd be able to bring in on short notice. It's not a massive selection, but we should have no problem accommodating your needs. Great, thanks, a queasy-looking Haliska. Hesitation flickered in Naltor's eyes, debating whether to press the aliens. I'll make the necessary arrangements. The FAI Convention Center should be perfect. I'm sure the rest of Tassi's fellow scientists will be delighted to chip in. Work shifts be damned. Shall we head to the vehicles? Dustin dipped his head. Lead the way. The Selmer general clasped his flippers behind his back and strode over to the convoy we'd come from. My mind was dazed from everything that had unfolded, but a mystery had made itself plain to me. As tempted as it was to zero in on cultural details, I needed to devote some focus to learning the details of the strange attitudes relating to the human and the feast. The nature of predators, 2 to 3, memory, transcription, subject, Taylor Trench, human colonist, date, standardized human time, March 13th, 2160. The sound of an alarm clock detonating by my bedside jolted me from a dreamless sleep, much too early. I stumbled over to the sink and brushed my teeth, splashing some water in my face to wake myself up. The grimy mirror showed my binocular eyes, with twinkling blue irises and the buzz cut attuned to the warm climate of this world. It was cooler and ventilated in the underground caverns, but when I traveled to the surface to hurry off the Krev, it would be punishing, and we couldn't take off the layers for anything. I wondered how I'd gotten saddled with the role of payment ambassador in the first place. I hated those fucking aliens as much as anyone. It'd be too much to hope for that we could just keep to ourselves. We send an ARC ship to get away from aliens, and we find more of them, I grumbled, knowing I'd have to put on a pleasant face in a few minutes. When ARC Ship 3 carried us to this uninhabited, breathable... I had been 9 years old, suffice to say, I barely remembered Earth. We'd kept documentation with us of the threat, just in case future generations forgot why we had to be leery of aliens. Heading to the stars, we found a vast majority of herbivores who despised us and wished us dead. Hundreds of species, all plotting our extinction despite our efforts of peace. The lone other predator, seemingly a rarity, were child-eating monsters, who we wanted nothing to do with either, despite what those fuckwit crocodile had thought. Our homeworld, and the 10 billion humans we left behind, were extinct, barring a miracle. The Ark ships had been sent out in quiet fashion by the UN to ensure our species' survival, and told never to contact home again. Starting civilization over from scratch with a few thousand people aboard wasn't easy. It was as bad as when our kind almost died on our cradle during an ice age. How long would it take us to bounce back to where we were? At least we had our knowledge and technology. We preserved our memories and keepsakes in vaults, a mere specter of what once was. Let's get moving, Taylor. Charisse Benson, a security officer, waved her rifle in a lazy gesture. She was already wearing full concealment gear. Scaly fuckers are on their descent from orbit. We don't need more protests from our own people or for the Xenos to stick around any more than necessary. I pressed a hand to my temple. I'm not looking forward to this. The miners are behind schedule because of the strike, so we have to barter for a few extra days. Damn militia's already used up all the last quarter's shipments, and we can't dip into that. Fucking hell. Tell the Krev they'll either get the payments in a few days, or they won't get jack shit. They're the ones profiting off our backs, taking what they haven't put anything into, making us hide down here like rabbits in a burrow. I wish I knew what it was like to feel the sun on my face, to stand in the rain. Sometimes I wonder what it would. That's our job, Taylor, to stop people from doing anything impulsive. Much as I hate those Krev bastards, we can't afford to fight them. Better to pay up than to have them kill us or take us from our home. I guess so. Wish we could just up and leave, but where else are we going to go? There's aliens everywhere. For all we know, the next ones are worse. Given that the Federation and the Arksur are out there, that's the truth. Makes the Krev Consortium not seem so bad. Now let's go suit up before they've got a chance to even wander from the landing pad. The arrangement between the Krev and us felt like it was hanging on by a thread sometimes, but it beat the alternative of having no home or fighting for our lives again. It didn't mean resentment didn't fester.